Today we're going to be installing the sliding door window. It is a pretty big window over there, and I'll hold it up to the van here in a second. So I'll go over what I will be using to do this. There is a little bit of a rib, so I will use my grinder just to get that piece of ribbing off. And then I'll use a jigsaw. I got some new metal blades, extension cord just because it doesn't reach, some janky scissors, a metal filer, my magic marker, and my tape to hold the window on, and the template. This is the rubber that will be going around the edges of the hole that we cut. I'll have to use some Rustoleum over, again, the outline of the hole that we cut in the van, as well as some primer for the window and the outside of the van. I'll be cleaning the outside of the van with Windex and Simple Green so that the primer sticks better. And then I'll be using this 3M Window-Weld urethane to hold the window onto the van. And then just the drill for drilling the holes before we use the jigsaw. I have my little brother Jake here to help with videography. And so Jake, if you hold that, I'll show them the window. This is the window. It's almost as big as me. And let's see, it'll take up the entire sliding door. So that is what it will look like in the end. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Okay, so to start out, I'm going to make a template out of some cardboard, and I'll just use a marker and some scissors, and basically the template is going to go along this inner ledge there, and so that's all that we're going to cut out, is along that inner rectangle. And then this is the very thin rib that we'll have to cut through with the grinder. It will not be very difficult to do, but it does have to be taken down so that we can cut along that inner rectangle. Alright, for this next part, I'm going to use my favorite scary tool, this grinder here, and I'm basically just going to cut through the rib as close as I can to the top, and then as close as I can to the bottom down here, and then I'll pry it off. If I can pry the whole thing off just by cutting one side of it, then I'll stop there, but if I can't, then I'll just do both, and then I'll be able to cut through with my jigsaw on the other side of the van with using my template. Okay. Okay, so I was able to pry it off after getting through this last little bit with my grinder, and now I probably need to grind this down a little bit more, and then I'll just be able to rip it off and go ahead and take my template to the other side, where I will outline it, drill some holes, and then use my jigsaw to cut through. Like I said, I'm going to have to cut this off and trim it, but it will be easier once I just have the rest of the window outline already done. And luckily I got pretty close to the edge on this one with my grinder, so hopefully it shouldn't be that bad. Alright, we finished grinding, well, I finished grinding the very bottom here. It just needed a little bit more, and then I was able to just kind of pry it off the wall. If you get a little closer in here, Jake, so that you can see where I'm going to need to use my jigsaw to cut straight across, but it will be easier to do from the outside. And then this one will be just a matter of trimming it up a little bit with the jigsaw, and then I think I'll actually be able to just use the rubber lining on top of it to clean it up a little bit more, so should be good. You can see that our template fits perfectly inside of the window here, and I actually took this marker along because it is a little bit big on this edge, so I'll make sure that I trim that off before I take it to the other side. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark just a couple of holes, so I'll probably do like one here, and then one over here, and I'll drill through so that I can stick the drill bits through the van and mark the exact location that I'm putting the window on the other side. and then I'll put the window on, tape it, trace around it, and then I'll cut it out. And 2. Alright, so now I'll take the drill bit and I'll stick 2 of them through those holes, take my template out, trim off the little outer edges that I just traced, and stick it on the other side so that I can tape it. So we taped the template to the outside of the van. It's straight, my cardboard is just what's a little bit crooked, but I'm going to trace around it, and then once I trace around it, I'll tape around that, and then I'll be able to use my jigsaw and actually cut through the side of the van. Okay, we are drilling a hole for our jigsaw to go in, and we actually did these 2 first, but it appears my template's a little bit off because as it went through this a little bit. So we're just going to go with our new hole, stay above it, and we'll just trim that up at the end. It's okay. And then I also forgot to mention a few of the materials we'll be using. We will have these suction cups that will be holding the window, and then there was something else I forgot. Oh, and then our caulking gun for the 3M adhesive. You can see here where our little rib guy is. We are going to actually just go under him and across and back up, and then we'll end up just trimming just the rib piece when we can fully see it. Great, we're going to do something a little out of the ordinary. We're going to try to use our grinder to get this stuff off and to smooth out all of these edges, because we just broke all 3 of our metal jigsaw blades on this one window. Okay. I'm scared. So what I've just done is we took the tape off after cutting out the hole, and then I went ahead and I took Windex and I just used Windex and a cloth, and I cleaned all along the edges there. And then took our Rustoleum paint. I just used a paintbrush this time because last time we spray painted like the whole van and it was really messy and we had to clean it. But I took the brush and I just kind of get paint on it, and I dabbed it all the way around the outside there. Got all the like metal pieces, and while I was doing that, Riley has been priming the window. So we'll let this dry. We'll put a little bit of primer around the van, scruff it up a little bit, and then we'll be ready to apply the adhesive and stick the window on. Okay, we are applying the adhesive, and this is looking a lot better than the first time we tried it already, so hopefully it goes well. Okay, we put the window up, and we might have gone a little overboard on the tape, but our last windows wanted to slide off, so we're trying it different this time. We didn't use clamps on this one. Because of the curvature of the window, the clamps actually caused the corners to come off of the window, and so the urethane wasn't actually allowing it to stick, and that's why they slid down. So with this one, we only used tape to hold it up, and it's doing pretty well because that's an extremely heavy window, and we hope it sticks. Alright, we have finished the side door window. We went through a little bit of difficulty. Turns out we didn't really do it right. So I actually had this auto glass company, Glass of Frisco, come out and fix it for me. And they told me that you're not supposed to use primer, so forget that I said that. And they also told me instead of the 3M window welding urethane that you should use 428, so I'll attach a link to that one in the bottom instead, but because apparently it's better. So he came, he washed off all the primer that we did. Apparently it's too oily for the urethane to stick, and then he reapplied, and now it is on good. You can see it takes up this whole side door. So when I open, the whole window goes with it. And then they're also the ones who fixed my rear windows for me, so same thing, we used the primer. We shouldn't have used the primer because it makes it oily. And we used 3M window welding adhesive. Shouldn't have used that, should have used 428 instead. But we have windows.